Hello, today I'll be talking about 8 perfect 90s albums for my collection. Albums that came out in the 90s that I think are perfect. 10 out of 10 albums. But yeah, these albums will be in no particular order though, but the first album I do want to talk about is from Deftones with their album Around the Fur, their sophomore album from 1997. And this is definitely my favorite album from them. I know some people point to White Pony as their favorite. White Pony would be in close second. This one definitely has to be at the top for me. I mean, you definitely get some of the band's best work on here, such as, of course, the 2 singles off of here, My Own Summer and Be Quiet and Drive. Definitely some of the band's best songs for sure. You also get some really good deep cuts on here, like Lotion and Labia, which is some of the more heavier songs off the album. Ricketts is another one that's on the more heavier side. That song is definitely a banger. I also really like the title track. You also have the song Head Up featuring Max Cavalera from Sepultura, Soulfly, Nail Bomb, and Cavalera Conspiracy. And yeah, definitely a pretty cool collaboration. I am also a fan of Max, and of course, if you haven't heard Soulfly or Sepultura or Nail Bomb and all those bands, definitely check those bands out. But yeah, Head Up, definitely probably another one of my favorites on the album. But yeah, Around the Fur, definitely an album I had to mention in this video. And next we're moving to Faith No More with their 4th album, Angel Dust. And the 2 albums they did with Chuck, I do like. I mean, the first album I think is just alright, but Introduce Yourself I think is honestly pretty good. I mean, I know his vocals are not for everybody. Obviously, Mike Patton is objectively probably the better vocalist, but I do like the Chuck era, especially more Introduce Yourself than the first album. But I still think the first album is at least all right. But Introduce Yourself I think is pretty good. Now when it comes to fans picking their favorite album from this band, you do get a variety of answers. I've seen some people say King for a Day, some people say The Real Thing, and some people of course picking this album. I'm definitely going with this album. Not a single weak track on it. Midlife Crisis, A Small Victory, which I think is one of the band's best singles. I also like Everything's Ruined. That's another one of my favorite Faith No More songs. Move towards some of the lesser known songs on here. I really like Kindergarten and Crack Hitler. Crack Hitler being kind of one of the more overlooked songs on the album. I really like that one. Jizzlobber, which is one of the more heavier songs on the album. I really like that one. And of course, Mike Patton. Definitely a really great vocalist and definitely one of the more unique vocalists out there for sure. And of course, he has all these other projects too, like Mr. Bungle and many others. If you haven't heard Mr. Bungle, definitely check him out. But yeah, Angel Dust, definitely a perfect album in my opinion. And now we're moving to the world of thrash with Megadeth with their album Rust in Peace, which is probably the heaviest album on here. And yeah, this would be their first album with Nick Menza and Marty Friedman, and yeah, definitely a big upgrade for them at the time. And yeah, not a single weak track on this album. This is definitely one of those metal albums you can listen to from front to back with no issue. I know not everyone's into Dave Mustaine's vocals, but I personally like his voice, and no one really sounds like him, that's for sure. But yeah. Holy Wars, Hangar 18, definitely start off the album in a strong manner. Definitely some of the band's most iconic tracks. Hangar 18 was really the song that really got me into Megadeth and really pushed me to dive more into their discography. Hangar 18 is definitely a contender for maybe being my favorite song from the band, if I'm being honest. But of course, Holy Wars is also really good too. You move towards the deeper cuts. I really like Five Magic. That's probably one of their most underrated songs in my opinion. A song that I think deserves a lot more attention. And yeah, probably one of my favorite Megadeth songs, if I'm being honest. And you also have another fan favorite on here. That song, of course, being Tornado of Souls, which has one of the band's most iconic solos, of course, from Marty Friedman. The title track, Rest in Peace Polaris, is also really good. But yeah, all around a really great album from front to back. Next, we'll be moving to something a bit different, diving into the world of trip hop. Portishead with their album Dummy. Now, honestly, for the longest time, this album and self-titled were kind of neck and neck for me. This album and self-titled, for the longest time, really fought for being my favorite Portishead album. But in more recent times, especially ever since really this year, Dummy has pretty much taken my #1 spot. But don't get me wrong, I still really love the self-titled album though. Another really strong album from them, and I do also like Third too. But yeah, Dummy probably nowadays is at the top for me. This is definitely another album you can listen to from front to back with no issue. And this was one of those albums that, especially the first time I heard it, it just really blew me away. Because at the time when I checked out this album, I never heard anything like it. So it was an album that really blew me away, and definitely a pretty interesting / intriguing listening experience for me, especially during that first listen. And Beth's vocals are definitely really great. Definitely has a really great vocal, definitely really great voice. That's what I'm trying to say. And her vocals can really pull you into a song very well. And if I were to pick out some of my favorites on here, Sour Times, of course, is one of my favorites. Same with Wandering Star. You get some really good deep cuts on here, like Strangers, which probably has some of my favorite instrumentation on the album. I also have the iconic Glory Box, one of the more iconic songs. Pedestal, I think, is one of the more overlooked songs on the album. I really like that one too. I also like Numb. That's probably one of my favorite Portishead songs. But yeah, not a single weak track on this album. Really good stuff, and if you haven't heard that album, definitely check it out. And really, if you're just a music fan in general, that's an album that you should definitely check out. But next we're moving to The Prodigy with Fat of the Land. Probably their most commercially successful album, especially thanks to songs like Smack My Bitch Up, Breathe, and Firestarter, which I think are still great. But you have other really great songs in here like Minefields, which, if I remember correctly, was on the soundtrack for the first Matrix movie. You also have Serial Thriller, which is another one of my favorites on the album, and also one of my favorite Prodigy songs, if I'm being honest. But yeah, all around, really good stuff. Next, we're moving to Red Hot Chili Peppers with their 1999 album, Cali Fornication. Absolutely love this album. And this is another one of those bands where you definitely get a variety of answers when it comes to picking a favorite album. Some people point to this one, or Blood Sugar Sex Magic. I've even seen some people say Mother's Milk, or even Uplift Mofo Party Plan, but I gotta go with this album. I mean, especially for having 14, 15 songs and not having any filler, at least in my opinion, that's definitely really impressive. But yeah, not really any weak songs on here. I mean, the singles are still great in my opinion, such as songs like Around the World, which starts off the album in a pretty strong manner. You also have Scar Tissue, Other Side, and the title track, Californication. That song probably being one of the band's best singles in my opinion. I also really dig the solo from John Frusciante in that song. The more funky songs on the album I think are still really good, like Get On Top and Purple Stain. I do also like the more melodic songs too, like Porcelain and This Velvet Glove, which I think has to be one of their most underrated songs. Absolutely love This Velvet Glove. Definitely a song that, to me, deserves a lot more attention. Definitely a song that seems to be one of the more overlooked tracks off the album. But yeah, Californication. Absolutely love that album. Definitely had to mention it in this video. But now we're moving to probably my favorite album in general when it comes to the world of grunge. I mean, don't get me wrong, you also have albums like Nevermind and 10 and Versus, Facelift, Dirt, Core, Purple, and many other albums, but this one has to be my favorite, and that album is Badmotorfinger by Soundgarden. I mean, of course, you have Chris Cornell's vocal performance on here, of course, rest in peace. His vocals on this album are just amazing, especially in songs like Outshine, Slaves and Bulldozers, Jesus Christ Pose, Room 1,000 Years Wide, and New Damage, the album closer. But yeah, of course, the singles are still great, like Rusty Cage and Outshined and Jesus Christ Pose, but you also get some really good deep cuts, like Room 1,000 Years Wide, which is honestly one of my favorite Soundgarden songs. Somewhere is another really good deep cut, same with Holy Water, but yeah, absolutely love this album. Definitely a perfect album from front to back. Not a single weak track on it. But now we're moving to the final album for this video, Third Eye Blind, with their self-titled album from 1997. I actually saw these guys live for the first time earlier this year, and even with the current lineup, I thought they did a pretty good job when I saw them live. I mean, if I remember correctly, Stefan and Brad are the only members left when it comes to the classic lineup. But yeah, they have other pretty good albums like Blue and Out of the Vein. I also like Ursa Major. To me, that was their last good album. I'll admit I'm not too big on the albums that they did after that. Dopamine has one or two decent tracks, but that's about it for me. Screamer to me is probably their worst album. I like maybe one song and that's it. And then you have not Ursa Major, Our Band Apart, which if I remember correctly is their latest album. Not too big on that album except for one song. Again, I think that song is pretty good, but the rest of the album does nothing for me. But yeah, to this day, I think this album is still their best. I've seen some people point to Blue as their favorite, but for me, gotta go with the self-titled debut. This is definitely one of those albums you can listen to from front to back with no issue. And yeah, really great singles on here, like of course Semi Charmed Life, which I know some people are not big on, but I personally really dig that song. To me, it's just all around a really catchy, hooky song. And you have other really great songs like Losing a Whole Year, which to me is one of their more underrated singles, which to me, a song that should have been bigger for them. If I remember correctly, I remember hearing this on a podcast or somewhere online. That song was originally supposed to be the first single, but their label wanted Semi Charmed Life to be the first one. If I remember correctly, I remember hearing about that somewhere on YouTube or something. But anyways, Losing a Whole Year, definitely a really great song. Narcolepsy is also really good. Jumper, of course, you also have Jumper and How's It Going to Be, which are some of the band's more iconic songs. You move towards the second half where you get some of the deeper cuts. I like Good For You, which is definitely has to be one of their most underrated songs. I love that song. Probably one of my favorites on the album and also one of my favorite songs from the band in general. When it comes to the more melodic songs or more chill songs on the album, I really like I Want You. That's a song that's grown to be one of my favorites on the album too. Of course, you also have Motorcycle Drive-By, which has one of the best vocal performances on the album from Stefan, in my opinion. And you also have Graduate, another really great song for them, and definitely one of their best, I'd say. But yeah, absolutely love the self-titled album. Definitely had to make this video for sure. But yeah, those are 8 perfect 90s albums from my collection. Let me know your thoughts on these albums in the comment section below. Let me know if you can think of more perfect 90s albums in the comment section below, no matter what genre, hip-hop, rock, metal, whatever, electronic music. But yeah, again, those are 8 perfect albums there. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and all that good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and a like, subscribe, have a nice day, and take care.